Test. Okay, der er et eller andet, der virker. Jeg vil gerne have min gode mikrofon til at virke. Test. Okay, lige meget. Den her. Hvordan er lyden? Kan I høre mig? Kan I ikke høre mig? Er jeg væk? Er jeg ikke væk? Er jeg til stede? Testes. Lyden er der. Okay. Sådan lyden både for spillet og for mig, og lyden er bedøvende. Hvad betyder det? Det lyder som om, du er meget langt væk. Oh! Jeg prøver lige en gang til her, og så gør vi. Sådan der. Er det bedre det her? Jeg tror det er bedre det her. Meget bedre. Jamen, fantastisk. Og så sætter vi også lige den der på, og tror jeg. Jo, det ser rigtigt ud. Meget bedre. Godt. Og så vil jeg lige som en afsluttende visning for Retro Lasses skyld. Nu lyder du som du plejer, som en engel. Surprise Teddy Stream. I får også lige lov til at se, hvor mange billeder og sådan ting, jeg har samlet. Det er faktisk ret utroligt, hvor tomt mit museum heroppe er. Jeg har... Er det en Animal Crossing grinding stream? Nej, det er det ikke. Jeg har 2 billeder. Og det er det. Så jeg har lang vej nu, når det kommer til billeder. Men vi sætter lige over til 2 billeder mere end mig. Sætter lige over til den der. Og så siger vi... Hej gutter. Hvordan går det med jer? Hvordan går det med jer? Vi kan gerne lige smide min opmærksomhed, eller ja, min opmærksomhed skal smides. Sådan der. Nu smider jeg med min opmærksomhed. Jeg vil gerne have, at jeres opmærksomhed skal smides over til min kop. Er den ikke dejlig? Den kop, den fik jeg af Chichi. Hun var en tur på Planetariet i København. Der er ikke. Og så får man selvfølgelig en kop med rumting på. Nå, hvad skriver I her? Jeg har mega meget kunst, hvis du vil have lidt hjælp. Har et decideret kunstpark på min ø. Og jeg har sådan lyst til det, men nej, jeg bliver nødt til at sige, at jeg vil gerne selv. Kan selv. Stor dreng bukser. Princess siger og Icarus siger wholesome. Der er ikke engang noget billede af Champion på. Jeg elsker også månen og tilbage. Emilie synes, jeg skulle købe en til dig med dit stjernetegn. Købe en til dig med... Er der stjernetegn på? Nej, der er ikke stjernetegn på. Nå, så bliver det cheesy i stedet. Okay, på den måde. Nå, men vi skal spille spil, og lige om et øjeblik, Ikaros, gider du være den, der skifter spillet lige så snart jeg starter det op, så har du mulighed for at se, hvad det er for et spil, jeg starter. Jeg tror godt lige, du kan håndtere at gøre det, mens du pakker. Jeg har savnet, når Teddy ikke læser chatten, og der faktisk bliver skrevet i chatten. Wow, er det stjernetegn cheesy? Cheesy Teddy? Jeg har savnet, at Teddy ikke læser, hvad der faktisk bliver skrevet i chatten. Igen, der læser jeg forkert. Er I klar over, hvor svært det er at læse? Altså, det er jo ikke fordi, at jeg har haft et helt... jeg har haft mange år til at øve mig, ikke? Top kick underholdning. Jeg ved godt, du ikke skal top kick underholdning. Du skal jo bare top underholdning. Men nu... Det er sådan, det er. Nå, jeg tror, at Ikaros zone, han har travlt med pakningen, så jeg vil selv gå ind og skifte spil. Jeg trykker på den der knap der, og så trykker jeg på den knap. Hej Zone, jeg spurgte, om du vil skifte spilletitlen, når nu er... Sådan, så jeg ikke behøver at bruge tid på det. Developed by Crows. Patrick er her også. Hej Patrick. Du må også gerne gøre det, hvis du vil. Bare I ikke slås om det. Have you played Stanley Parable before? Altså... Jeg har spillet det, men har I spillet det før? Og det er jo jer, der skal se det. Du er vel heller ikke så vigtig. I feel sad, man. Nej, jeg siger nej, fordi I ikke har... Please adjust the slider until the computer is barely visible. Hvad er klokken? Klokken er... 7. 12. Konfolk svarer endelig og arbejder faktisk med mig om at et eller andet, som jeg ikke kan læse, fordi det er der. Om at få styr på ting. Nice. The end is never the end is never the end is loading. Jeg skal lige have smidt chatten lidt mere op. Sådan
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in. As as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Så på mit arbejde, der er jeg også den eneste, der er på kontoret.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Jeg skal lige hurtigt svare på en besked her. Sådan der.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
On his left. Okay. Som I hører, så fortæller spillet mig, hvad det er, jeg skal gøre. Så vi må hellere blive ved med at gøre, hvad spillet fortæller os, at vi skal gøre. Right. Jeg leger bagefter. Nu prøver jeg bare at følge spillet.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Så første gang, så følger jeg helt præcis, hvad spillet siger. Og bare roligt, spillet er gennemført rimelig hurtigt. Og så tager jeg...
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Two, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Jeg er for kontrær som person til at kunne følge narratorens historie. Hvad betyder kontrær?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Du skal ikke. At man altid gør modstand eller modsat. Du skal ikke fortælle mig, hvad jeg skal gøre. Det er jo lige præcis det, som
Stanley
spillet...
walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Det er lige præcis det, at spillets historie går ud på. For eksempel her, Stanley went through the door that said Mind Control Facility, men her er der en dør, hvor der står Escape. Skal man gøre, hvad når raideren siger, eller skal man følge sin egen historie? Og hele tiden så kommer der for eksempel også på trappen, Stanley gik op, men du kan vælge at gå ned. Og hele tiden så kommer der steder, hvor man kan gå den ene eller den anden vej. Så hvornår vælger du at følge narratoren, og hvornår vælger du ikke at følge narratoren? Det er det, jeg
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Og så narratoren, hans stemme, jeg synes den er fantastisk, den stemme.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Hvilket nummer var det, Stanley havde? Employee 427, ikke? Så det er den der lige med den.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Det er jo meget fint, men han sagde ikke, hvordan jeg skulle gøre det.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Det var det. Fedt spil.
Blackness.
Oh.
And a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Jeg elsker, at den fortæller, aldrig nogensinde vil nogen fortælle Stanley, hvordan han skal fortsætte. Beat the game. Woo! Aldrig mere skal nogen fortælle ham, hvordan han føler, og alt sådan noget der. Og bagefter så siger han så, Stanley walked through the door. Stanley was happy. Aldrig mere skal nogen fortælle, hvad han skal gøre, og så fortæller de, hvad han skal gøre. Så er vi tilbage igen. Så det var spillet.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
Nu
mean?
er det...
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Gør det modsat af alt, hvad han beder om. Så mange detaljer. Det er så vanvittigt designet, det her spil her. Skal jeg gøre det modsat af alt? Princess siger, Scotty siger, enten så er Scotty enig i Patrick, eller også er Scotty enig med Princess. Eller begge dele. Ja, clean modsat.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Enig med både Great Patrick Bay Temple.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Hvorfor The Great Patrick Bay Temple?
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Nej, så kommer der lige fourth wall breaking og alt sådan noget. Det er jo Teddy. Hvor? Hey, champ med vågen på en onsdag. Nej, jeg tror ikke, der er mere herinde.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room, and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Nah.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift $1,000. Penalty for jumping off cargo lift $5,000. Jump! Altså, I sagde, at jeg skulle gøre det modsatte af, hvad han siger, og han har ikke sagt, at jeg skal tage liften. Så hvad siger I til, at jeg hopper næste gang? Men mindre selvfølgelig, at jeg hopper op på liften, og han siger, at jeg fortsat på liften, så hopper jeg selvfølgelig ned.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
For her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Er der nogen af jer, der har set filmen Stranger Than Fiction? No, Stranger Than Fiction.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Jeg tror ikke, jeg ikke kan tage telefonen.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, it can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Hvor fantastisk det er.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Okay.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Det hele er fuldstændig gået i stykker. Okay, du er en ægte person til, at det er et levende væsen. 2 gange 4 lige med fisk. Synes du ikke, du øvede? Jeg øvede inde i hovedet. Obviously.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Se, nu vil jeg jo gerne hoppe ned. Men det må jeg ikke. Hvad fanden er det dog for et smadret spil, du spiller til det? Nå, vi ses Zone. Ted skulle finde noget sjovt at spille på en stream. Jeg sagde Farming Simulator, men det ville Ted ikke. Jeg ville faktisk det her. Jeg har altid syntes, at Stanley Parable var et sjovt spil.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Skal jeg gøre det rigtigt, eller skal jeg fuck mere med ham? Gør det forkerte.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Jeg elsker det går igennem. Når du får et valg, bør du spørge dig selv, hvad vil aben gøre? Nå, så jeg ser ud til det eneste sted, jeg kan gå hen til den her vej her.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to. I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make...
Undskyld.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Skal jeg blive ved?
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, jeg troede ikke den ville.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to the staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Spillet har lært. Kan du ikke komme tilbage og tage onsdag til det? Onsdag er det ikke din dag. Så du vil ikke streame mere? Er det det, du siger? Hvorfor... Nu er jeg nysgerrig, om det var spillet, der lige pludselig fjernede min controller, eller hvad der sker. Man kan ikke vide med det her spil her.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Night Shark 115.
Stanley spoke the code. Night
Shark
115.
115.
He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall. I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
I am the most expensive boss. Not
Okay, fine, you're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 other doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything alright? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision.
No.
It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Hvad fanden var det for en slutning? Ja.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Det var der, I sagde, jeg skulle hoppe ned.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room.
Jeg tror ikke, det her,
Eager to get
jo,
back
det her,
to
det var vejen
business,
til,
Stanley
til
took the
nedad.
first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Godt. Hver anden ting fortæller, der skal gøre det modsat. Det vil jeg gøre næste gang. Nu vil jeg lige prøve
I
det
think
her.
perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy.
Og jeg mener, det var Patrick, der sagde, at der var en måde at overleve det her op her. Jeg tror, jeg ved, hvad det er for lidt,
But the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Skal lige prøve noget her.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now,
What? Really?
but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Ja, okay. Jeg skal ned på gangbroen. Og så bagefter, så gør jeg, hvad Scotty han sagde. Så vi løber lige igennem
All of
det
his
her.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
What? Really?
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Danger everywhere.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Okay, rød eller blå? Test. Sådan der. Oh. Lige et øjeblik. Okay. Lad os så se her. Jeg spurgte, hvilken dør. Princess siger blå, Chichi siger rød. Scotty siger blå, og Princess siger Cam er dødt. Smuk billeder til det. Indtil videre så har jeg fulgt rigtig meget af, hvad Princess sagde, så jeg tror, jeg tager rød den her gang. Vi starter lige med en blå, og så ser vi, hvad der sker.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood.
Jeg har
Stanley
ikke noget
walked
lyd
through
lige
the
pludselig.
red door.
Har I lyd? Ja, I har lyd. Okay, jeg har ikke lyd. Overlay er væk. Hvad for et overlay er væk? Nu har jeg også lyd. Plejer du ikke at have en kant? Der er en kant rundt om mit webcam. Der er en kant hele vejen sådan rundt om her. Og den fjernede for lang tid siden.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I want it to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Det var underligt. Gud, nej, hold op. Okay.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy. No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Hvorfor skulle jeg dø ved at gå op ad trappen?
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Okay.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Okay, okay. Okay, det er koldt, det der. Hop. Okay.
No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Chichi, han vil gerne have, at jeg går ind i rummet. Er du klar over, hvor mange der dør ved at gå op ad trapper om året? Nej, faktisk ikke. Fortæl mig, jeg er interesseret. Hvor mange mennesker dør om året ved at gå op ad trapper? Chichi. 4. Chichi, skal jeg gå op ad trappen, eller skal jeg gå ind i det glade rum igen? Nu spørger jeg Chichi. Ind i det glade rum, siger jeg. Okay.
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Ja. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving. Skal jeg så bare blive stående her? I det glade rum? Så står vi her i det glade rum. Og så skal vi være glade. Nu står vi her, og vi er glade. Husk at smile. Smil højt. Husk at have glade tanker. Tænk på alle de gode ting, der sker. Tænk på, at det snart er weekend. Mærk glæden. Tænk på, at I måske snart skal ud og rejse. Måske skal nogen af jer ud til koncert eller sådan noget der. Muted lige streamen. Det kan jeg ikke tåle at høre på. Okay. Alle de gode ting som wasabi-nødder. Det dejlige liv er slut for mig. Ej, okay, Patrick, hvad skete der? Jeg hopper ud af det glade rum.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
Du siger... Ej, ja.
No. No, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Det var ret sort, Patrick. Hop!
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Jeg hader, hvordan han lyder mere og mere sådan trist og alt sådan noget der.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game?
Nå,
That
du
you'll
smutter.
throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy.
Vi
Am I
ses,
reading the
Gigi.
situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get out. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Jeg kan gerne lige blive lidt endnu. Og for at se, om der er noget andet, jeg kan gøre.
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Den her del af spillet er jeg ikke helt tilfreds med. Jeg kan godt lige gøre det den sidste gang. Ej, hvor han går langsomt.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
This is a story of a man named Stanley. Og så er vi tilbage igen.
All
Okay.
of his co-workers were gone.
Scotty.
What did it mean?
Nu
Stanley
nævnte
decided to
du,
go
at
to
jeg
the
skulle
meeting
gøre hver
room.
anden
Perhaps he
ting
had
her.
simply missed a memo.
Så det vil sige, at den første gang skal jeg gå rigtigt.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Der er endings, der kræver restarts på bestemte tidspunkter. Restarts?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Det var dybt. Men, nej.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Gud. Her.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Du, der Vimmersvej, altså. Det her spil her. Og så er vi tilbage igen. Hej, søster. Her.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay. Hvad,
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
nu
left.
vil jeg prøve at gå op til bossen. Og åbne
Yet there was not a
døren.
single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Ja, okay, den bad jeg selv om.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Princess, siger søster.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Nej.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Okay. Vi gør det sgu alligevel. Ej, ved du hvad? Jeg vinder op. Jeg vil ikke møde en violent death.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. Nope, still on board with death.
Åh, Gud. Nej, der er ikke mere.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Ja, hvorfor ikke?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
Skal jeg genstarte?
Farewell, Stanley.
Skal jeg gøre det? Patrick, det lyder som noget, at hvis du stadig er, det lyder som et tidspunkt nu, at jeg vil gøre det. Nej, okay. Lidt for sent nu.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Det lød ikke som narratoren.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Så der er Stanleys kontor. This blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the two doors. That was the first part of the game that was built. A section has been added and altered throughout development, though the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. Stanley's computer. Det er billederne fra pauserummet. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. The corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the two doors in a good time. The set of the two open doors was the first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension to it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of keyboard stroke and synthesized tone. Spændende. Kevin Brighting as the narrator. Jeg går her. An early version of the maintenance room. Okay, Teddy, næste start vil du så gøre alt, hvad jeg siger. Jeg har noget, jeg gerne... Okay, det er en aftale. After the second trailer was sent out, we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these further promotional materials, we never found a perfect use for them. Here's a selection of those emails. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. Spændende. From left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011, the second in March 2012, and the third in February 2013. Så han fik bare flere møbler. Oh. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go... could go up or down with freedom above and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the two endings together instead. The sending went through many iterations. This room represents the fourth version of the ending, and we thought it was complete but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. The game is now paused. For a long time, we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this, and this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. Nå, nu har jeg været nok i museet. Nu vil jeg gerne finde en udvej. Det er ikke en udvej. Jeg tror, det er udgangen. Ja, exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your Nintendo Switch. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Wow. Okay, Princess, er du klar? Højre. Den højre dør.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Skal jeg tage den næste gang så? Ikke den, okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Hvad skal jeg så? Hop ned på gangbordet.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot.
What? Really?
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Og hvad så, Princess? Vælg den blå dør 3 gange.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Og 1 gang.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
3 gange.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far.
Og ja, et
Tell you
skill tree vil være meget
Let me
fedt.
take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Vælg hvilken som helst dør, så tager vi den her.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark. But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Worldwide leaderboard. You are objectively ranked 9,328 out of 9,328 players worldwide.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Nu! Nu hvad? Nu sker det snart, okay.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Okay, okay.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Hvis du gør det i 4 timer, får du en specifik ændring, men du skal ikke gøre det. Nu er jeg committed. Nu gør jeg det. Efter 2 får du også en hund. Jeg kunne godt bruge 100 kroner. Er det dig, der giver mig 100 kroner? Så er der 2 knapper. Se som 3 timer og 58 minutter, folkens. Og jeg skulle have lavet en timer på skærmen. Det her er mig som monster. Snart får jeg også en knap. Alle, som der har noget som helst med småbørn at gøre, får en knap. Patrick. Jeg gider ikke det her. Det så sjovt er det heller ikke. Snydt. Min søster har trillinger og får altså 3 knapper.
Babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Hvad nu?
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Hvad nu? Hvad finder han nu på?
Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley?
Oh, the
What's our
Firewatch.
backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Jeg kan ikke se, hvad der står. De havde tegnet det seje S på papiret. Havde de det? Der havde de fandme også folkeskoleæsset.
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You really wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big... insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Og hvad nu? Hvis de havde Firewatch, hvad fanden får de så næste gang?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Nej. Rocket League.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Hvad er jeg? Rød eller blå? Rød eller blå? Rød eller blå? Blå. Okay, så skal jeg skyde mod rød.
Are you doing it? Are you winning?
Yes.
Is this fun? Is
It
it
is
better
fun.
than my miserable little story that I
Yes.
worked so hard on?
Yes.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Ja, jeg skal lige score. Yay! Hey!
Are you enjoying this, Stanley?
Yes!
Are you having fun?
Yes.
Is this a real video game? Well,
Yes.
I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over.
Nej.
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Vil det sige, at der ikke er flere bolde? Nå, eftersom jeg gik igennem de blå døre, så må jeg hellere hoppe ned i det blå mål. Lave et selvmål. Ikke mere sjov.
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Hvis det, jeg sværger, hvis det lige pludselig bliver til et horrorspil, så slukker jeg. Kom så med det jumpscare.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Og så er vi tilbage igen. Var det ikke en god rute? Er du ikke glad for, at du lyttede til mig? Jo, det var jeg i hvert fald. Det der med barnet, det var lidt for meget. Play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. Don't play Stanley Parable for 10 years.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I hate Mondays. New content!
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Stanley blev ikke introduceret, da de resettede, hvilket plejer at betyde, at vi stadig er i storyflow.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Oh my god, jeg elsker home computers.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Story flow, ending, whatever. The jump circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Oh. Jump King. Hvad så, var jeg bedre til Jump King end...
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
This is a story of a man named Stanley. Oh. Ja, alt efter hvilken version man spiller, og hvor man spiller den henne, om man spiller den på PC eller på... så er det enten 5 år, 8 år eller 10 år.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Jeg har lyst til at gøre det. Nej! Nope! Nej, no bad. Jamen... Do it! Vent guy is always evil. Vent guy. Det er ligesom klovnen i Klagen. Man skal ikke lytte. Okay, så gør jeg det. Jeg gør det.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Ooh. Og så bliver lidt mindre framerate lige pludselig.
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap Nintendo Switch port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Memory, sweet memory. Don't forget. Graphs, shapes, time. The Stanley Parable Collector's Edition, First Edition. World Class Award. 2014 Independent Games Festival. Audience Award. Nice. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts awarded to... Jeg kan ikke se, hvem den faktisk er awarded til. En eller anden fra The Last of Us. First Kiss, My First Car, the release of Stanley Parable in 2013. Hej Pytte. Hvordan går det herinde? Vi får bare stille og roligt en eksistentiel krise her nu og der. Buy it on Steam. Just your average browser. Bits of music from the Stanley Parable. A trip down memory lane. Unachievable. It's impossible to get this achievement. Don't play for 5 years. Der var den. Det var den første achievement. New video game releasing today. Creator surprisingly down to earth. Stanley Parable deals tough choices. In loving memory of little Stanley. Aww.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Hyggeligt sommerhus. Person of the Year. Det er... er det ikke fra Source Engine, det der? Det ligner det. The end is never, the end is never, the end is never. Hammer Editor, det er rigtigt, ja, det var det, den hed.
Here's another moving passage. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the Nintendo Switch. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Jeg elsker, at der faktisk er lavet en stemme til, at det er til Nintendo Switch. Så jeg går stærkt ud fra, at hvis han siger, hvis man spillede på Xbox, så sagde han så... it need to be ported to the Xbox One, eller noget af den stil der. Det synes jeg er ret fedt. Repeatable carpet textures. Der er den. Source SDK. The serious room. Jeg er ikke helt sikker på, hvor jeg skal hen. Der er den røde og den blå dør.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
Kunne man have hoppet her, hvis man gemte sine jumps? Jeg tror ikke, man kunne have gemt jumps. Jeg tror kun, man kunne hoppe i det område der.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Hvis man kunne have gemt sin hop, så ville det have været fedt. Og så har jeg misset den slutning.
Oh no, oh god no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years.
Pressurized Gas.
I can't even
Steam.
imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Steam.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Tænk at være dem, der har lagt en negativ review og faktisk kommet med i spillet. Tænk at være den person, der har sagt, hey, jeg synes, I skal spille Stanley Parable, og så gå den her vej, så vil I se et username, I kender. But you will get the idea. It tries to communicate pretty fast. Then it is just repeating the whole no choice in games thing over and over again. For somebody who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Is it, as it is neither a revelation nor very interesting, it is thought-provoking only for the first few minutes.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Så er der en skip.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 200. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. 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 Treatise, manifesto.
Indtil videre har manifesto vundet.
Manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. treatise, manifesto, 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 treatise,
Tror I, der sker noget, hvis jeg bare lader den være, ellers...
treatise, manifesto,
Jeg tror ikke, der sker noget.
treatise, manifesto,
Jeg trykker på knappen.
treatise. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on how exactly pressurized
Bare bliv ved med at
gas
trykke på knappen.
works.
Jamen, jeg vil gerne høre, hvad det er, han
Perhaps
siger,
that
indtil
would
han
have been a
begynder
smart
at
thing to
gentage.
check on before I went on
Fair.
about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is who runs pressurized gas will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review merely because of this very situation.
Jeg tror faktisk godt, man
I
kan
think that's
ændre
quite
sine
likely.
reviews på
Or
på
perhaps
Steam.
they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with pressurized gas altering this particular review so that it reads as something more From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time, the additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again.
Det gider jeg ikke. Det gider jeg ikke.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button to go end... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all.
Narrator? Narrator? Ud og faldet ned.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart.
Oh nej.
The end is never the end, 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 is never.
Oh gud. We're going to die down here, aren't we? Så jeg ved ikke, hvor døren er blevet af, så... Possibly? Au. Så hvis vi bare bliver ved lidt endnu, så kan vi komme ud. Nej. Ah. Oh wow. da du startede spillet, var det her sted, jeg håbede, du ville nå til? Skål! Og så er vi tilbage igen.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Jeg kan ikke. Jeg kan ikke lige nu. Jeg er straks tilbage. Jeg skulle lige hente noget ordentligt at drikke. Så Scotty, den er til dig. Skål. Okay. Hvor er vi henne? New content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes,
could you
I have
not
something
notice?
very exciting to show you.
Okay, vi skal ikke se alt det igen.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh! The end is never the end.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
2, 2, 3, 2. Something. Du, 2, 2, dos.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
More Stanley Parable, better Stanley Parable. 1 plus 2 equals win-win. The color red. Leverage. Holistic value. Paradigm shift. Brick and mortar approach. Two Stanleys.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Jeg vil derind. This way to the show floor. New features. En bus. New content. Jeg kan ikke sætte mig. Okay, man.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Okay, det der logo kan jeg faktisk godt lide. Office decorations, the Stanley Parable Reassurance. The button says the name of the player that is playing the game. Hear your name in the game. Hvis den kan sige mit navn, så bliver jeg bange.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, What do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature.
Okay.
Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Jim
If so,
Funhouse.
then please step forward and press the button.
Okay. Jeg er Jim.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Hvordan fanden ved den det?
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym
Ej, hvor er det
button.
vildt.
I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much, Jim.
Herre.
I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jeg nåede det. Herre. Okay, det var vildt, det der. Det var vildt. Helt ærligt. I kan ikke forestille jer, hvordan det føles. I skal købe spillet lige nu. Kom hen til det her område og tryk på knappen og mærk det rush, der er, når I hører jeres navn. Det kan ikke forklares. Så er det, fordi du ikke prøver hårdt nok, Princess. Så er du ikke Jim nok.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Jeg ved ikke, hvor en god idé det er, men... der er en toer, der er underlig. Hvor er det cute. Jeg synes, Jim er et skødt navn. Screenshots. Please. No screenshots. Alle sammen, I må ikke tage nogen screenshots nu. Please, no screenshots. I må ikke tage nogen screenshots af det her. Godt. Der er jump circle og infinite hole. Er det så... okay, vi tager den her vej her. Collectibles. Free, new plus easy achievement. I can't believe it's that simple.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Okay, hvor er det creepy, det der. Hvad sker der, hvis man gør det igen? Nå, man kan ikke komme derind igen. Can you find them?
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Gå ned og få den achievement. Ja, der er en achievement herovre. Get it here. Så skal jeg bare stå her, og så får jeg en achievement. Har jeg fået achievementen nu? Det var da meget nemt. Jump circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Jeg tror sgu, du havde ret, søster. Er der noget, jeg ikke har fået gjort endnu? Infinite Hole. Jeg har fået achievementen. Eller det vil sige, jeg stod under pilen, hvor der står Get It Here, og der skete ikke noget. Jeg har fået collectiblen. Hvad var der hernede? Der var ikke noget der. Expo Hall, Jump Circle. This map, you are here. Cool, free achievement. The button that says your name says the name of the player that is playing the game. Der er merch. Settings World Champion. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. Office Decorations, Epilogue, Collectibles, Infinite Holes, 8-9. Er der nogle collectibles, jeg havde misset? Nej. Der er ikke noget. Get yours right now. Pull the lever. Receive your new achievement. No more steps. It just works.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Okay, det er irriterende. Det er bare irriterende, det her.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Så Jump Circle, det var der. K. Infinite Hole. Ja, så tager vi Infinite Hole. It won't end. Der er også noget derinde. Ja, nu tager vi det der Infinite Hole der.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
To infinity.
You see, isn't it
And
wonderful?
beyond.
One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole.
Oh.
Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a...
Ow.
Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Jeg vil hellere kravle op. Jeg tror ikke, der sker noget, hvis jeg ikke trykker. Meeting at 2 p.m. Sincerely, management. From management to everyone, BCC me.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Okay, men først.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of...
Ow.
Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
I will do just
Had
that.
enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime.
Ja, enig. Jeg går lige ud. Men først...
Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working?
Nej.
You sure?
Ja.
Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley.
Nej.
You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley.
Nej.
I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Ja, okay. Sådan kan vi ikke stoppe streamen. Rip. Havde vi været tættere på, så havde det været det perfekte sted at stoppe. Oh! Ja, okay.
My head's stronger. Now you're no longer.
Change your reality.
De var der ikke stået for vævl. He is not.
Nej! Hvad sker der?
Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Toodlepip. Og husk til jer, som der ser spillet og tænker, what the fuck? Jeg har ikke engang scratchet, du ved, the surface om hvad der er i spillet.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Der er meget mere end det her. reassurance bucket. Den kan vi godt lige kigge på.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
Oh, nice.
The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Kan jeg putte den tilbage? Nej. Jeg har en spand nu. Portal reference. Hvordan er det her en portal reference? Selvfølgelig. Reassurance bucket. Companion cube. Selvfølgelig.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Det var ikke den, jeg valgte. Jeg ved, om den altid tager det modsatte.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
Kan man få achievementen nu? Okay, hvad har vi så prøvet? Jump Circle har vi prøvet, Free Achievement har vi prøvet, The Button That Says Your Name har vi prøvet, vi har kigget på Merch. Settings World Champion, okay, så det er den næste. Det er der. Hvor var det? Så jeg er der. Og 3 Office Decorations. Så det er lige ved Office Decorations. Ej, jeg vil gerne have en løbeknap eller sådan noget. Settings World Championship. Er jeg en World Champion nu? Husk lige på, folkens, at vi får Portal og Portal 2 til Switch. Damn, det skal blive glædeligt gensyn for aben. Hvilket fantastiske oplevelser de to spil var. Jeg glæder mig mest til at finde ud af, om multiplayer i Portal 2, om det er kan spilles med om det kan spilles online. Eller om det kun er split screen. Er jeg World Champion nu? Stanley Parable 2 Reassurance Bucket. That's new! An epilogue.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Det er noget settings, jeg kommer til at sætte på nu. Ja, okay, sådan der. Hvor fanden skal jeg hen? Ja, der har du sgu en god pointe til det. Jeg mener Jim. Gad virkelig godt multiplayer i 2'eren fungerede på Switch. En anden ting, som jeg også vil vide, om det virker på Switch. Skal I se, har jeg fundet det hele nu? Hvad er E? Exit, okay. Så det er... Exit den her vej. I 2'eren, der kunne man lave sine egne baner. Jeg vil være lykkelig, hvis de fandt en måde at implementere det i Switch-versionen.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yep. New mug.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Starter vi så forfra. This is a story of a man named Stanley. Ooh. Fancy. Altså klokken er 22 nu, og det er på tide, at jeg skal stoppe, men hvordan kan man stoppe, når man lige er nået til...
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Fornemmelse om, at der er collectibles lige pludselig. Alle vinduerne, det var tomme. Var der ikke et sted, hvor...
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
Oh, der er en spand.
Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Men jeg har set den, så jeg kan ikke.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
In the event that the cube does speak, spiller jeg hen til slutningen, eller den her slutning her, hvis jeg kan det, og så stopper jeg for i dag, eller stopper for i dag. Og hvis I har lyst til at se mere
The elevator
Stanley,
raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
så tror jeg, at I skal
It would be
købe det
all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Godt. Jeg er virkelig lykkelig over
Stanley and the
spanden
bucket
her.
walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Jeg elsker, at de har optaget de her lydfiler her, hvor de først har optaget det en gang normalt, og så en gang with the bucket. Det er så
The
dumt.
monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
3. Jeg ved, om jeg kan finde alle knapperne. 1, 2. Så 1, 2. Vi prøver. 1, 2. 3. 5. Hvor er 4? Må da bare komme videre så.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Sidste gang trykker jeg på off.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Jeg elsker, at der er mere stream, jeg hygger. Jeg bliver nødt til at stoppe snart. Jeg kan ikke blive ved.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office? When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. Was it this room? A connection between the two? Could a man love a room? I mean, truly, truly, deeply, madly love.
Jeg har lyst til at fortsætte.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Very much worth it.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Og så kan vi blive ved. Og vi kan 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 blive ved. Og ved I hvad? Vi kan blive ved. Og når vi har blevet ved, så kan vi sgu blive ved igen. Jeg ved seriøst ikke, hvad jeg skal sige. Det her spil her, det har virkelig fucket med mig. Det har været sjovt, det har været seriøst, det har været nederen. Jeg er ikke den største fan af selvmordshumor. Så det der sted der, hvor man var inde i Happy Room, og så skulle man hoppe ned for bare at dø. Men for at være helt ærlig, det var jo nok ikke et forsøg på at være humoristisk. Jeg tror, det har været et forsøg på at være dybt. Og når jeg siger dybt, så mener jeg ikke ligesom det der Infinite Hole, der ikke viser sig at være infinite. Jeg tror, det er meningen, at man skal prøve at være lidt filosofisk en gang imellem, om hvad det her spil, det egentlig forsøger at få dig til. Det jeg ikke kan lide. Jeg kan ikke finde en gem-knap. Så hvis jeg stopper nu, og har lyst til at spille det videre i morgen, hvor ender jeg så henne? Skal man kan ikke spille det i en setting. Jeg kommer til at prøve det igen, og jeg kommer til at fortsætte, men ikke på stream. Det hvis I har lyst til at se mere til Stanley, så enten skal I prøve at få Zone, Dalek eller Champion til at spille det. Og ellers så er der jo ikke nogen anden udvej, end I selv må købe dem. Det er tilgængeligt på Steam, det er tilgængeligt på Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. Og hvem ved, måske spillet er anderledes på de spil, eller på de platforme. Du skal spille det i en setting i de næste 13 år. Easy peasy. Det tror jeg sgu ikke på. Men med de ord, så vil jeg sige tak, fordi I gad at kigge med. Hvis jeg lige laver en hurtig check her, og så går jeg ind og ser... hvad skal vi se? Jo, ved du hvad? Vi laver en raid til noget, jeg har lyst til at se. Så hvis jeg lige gør sådan der, så jeg skriver, er det sådan der, og så skriver vi raid. Sådan der. Og så ser vi Games Done Quick. Jeg ved ikke, om Face han spillede, men hvis I har lyst til at se Face, så hopper I bare det over. Nu vil jeg sidde og se lidt Games Done Quick inden sengetid. Og I skal lide sammen med mig. Kan I have det rigtig godt derude. Så skal jeg lige finde knappen til at trykke på...